Is it the midweek monster mashup?
Definitely.
It was a graveyard smash.
Well, hello and welcome back to Midweek Mashup. Today I'm sitting down with Eric, Ty, and Becca. Thank you all for being here. Woo. We are having a pretty significant Midweek Mashup.
Yes.
To celebrate the pumpkin spice latte season.
Yes.
Sky's the only one that likes those.
It's because you're all wrong.
I enjoy pumpkin spice lattes.
Okay.
I've been making them at home and saving on sugar a little bit, and those $6 to $9 Starbucks drinks. Oof. But we're here to discuss a topic
Sitting between two basic white women.
Yes. That's right.
That's fair.
Why are we here again?
We're talking about Halloween today.
right.
Yeah, if you'll notice we spent a lot of money sprucing up our decor in the studio to include that small pile of pumpkins, so that
Great
that's what
band
we're
name.
talking about. Yeah,
Great band name, Small Pile of Pumpkins.
I'm down. Let's do it. Church band.
It's a lo-fi version of Smashing Pumpkins.
It's all of their songs in major keys.
On children's instruments.
So I thought we would sit down and talk about Halloween a little bit today. We've all been a part of churches who have done kind of like the fall festival sort of thing, and Christians over time have had different views on Halloween. So I thought we would just talk about it a little bit. But before we jump into that, it wouldn't be Halloween without costumes.
Right.
And so you'll also notice some very exquisite brown paper bags in front of us. And so I'd like to invite you guys in any particular order to pick a mystery bag that contains a costume prop. I can neither confirm nor deny.
You can neither confirm nor deny.
There might be
What if
something
this
that
is
looks
like-
like a snake.
What if this is a trick and not a treat?
Yes.
Or starting off early.
You're brave, Ty.
Sometimes
I am.
a hand pops out of there.
It's a zombie hand.
Yep.
Can you pull it out? Or does
Yeah, go ahead, pull it out.
Okay.
Pull it out,
Yeah,
pull it out,
baby.
put it on. Oh,
That's what I'm
yeah.
talking about.
We got Princess Ty.
That was like Queen Ty.
You give us like a good, like, what's your best Disney princess impression? Can you do like a harmonized sort of thing?
Harmonize with myself.
Yeah.
What did you get?
Oh,
gosh.
Dr. Hayes.
Oh no.
Listen to my own heartbeat here.
Oh, there it is.
Is it there?
Isn't that the wrong side?
Guys, I'm nervous.
Guys, I'm nervous.
I should be hearing something, right?
Is that the wrong side?
Oh, there it is.
Wait.
I'm doing great.
Still
Doing great, guys.
ticking. Oh, that one had jingles.
This one sounds
I need-
more fun.
I'm
need
really
20
glad that you took that one.
I need 20 cc's of coffee.
Stat. This is gonna hurt my head.
Around my neck.
Feel free
So
to
accurate.
to wear it however is comfortable.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah.
Faux show.
All right, Becca, spit some bars.
Oh wait, no. Sorry, not allowed. Just cut that. I had too many cc's of coffee.
I diagnosed you as crazy.
Not
Like
wrong.
we're getting into the danger zone. All right, now that we got our costumes, let's just kind of open the floor for Halloween. I know that we're going to be kicking off a series on Revelation
Yes.
pretty soon, and it starts the week of Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to assure everyone that there's no correlation there
None.
to start.
You know, I didn't grow up in church, so like I was like 5 years old and I went as like Freddy Krueger. I'm dead serious. I had the thing with the knives on. I had the fake, like burn mask, all that stuff. It was pretty cool. And we would go to haunted houses and do all the things, you know. And like Halloween was a big deal. And then I didn't know there was any sort of controversy about Halloween until I was a youth pastor, and I wanted to throw a Halloween party, and people were mad. And so I was like, oh, okay. And so that was kind of like my introduction into that kind of connection, or that viewpoint that some Christians hold, that Halloween is associated with some sort of demonic activity or anything like that. And so I was like, okay, I'll just kind of be careful about how people are sensitive to this. And I think the thing that I appreciate about that point of view is there is a desire to know and do what's right, and to steer clear of anything that that would be demonic, anything that would threaten our allegiance to Jesus. And so I appreciate the zeal there, at least that the desire. I mean, I totally agree with the line of thinking or even the history of Halloween that people kind of debate over, but I can appreciate that. I also think there's been some serious damage done because of that. And you guys know I'm a history nerd, so I've read a lot about the satanic panic of the 1980s and people freaking out about games like Dungeons and Dragons and things like that, where and I'm just throwing this out there as there's kind of two sides to this point of view, whereas a lot of people in my generation who enjoyed certain things because they have a vivid imagination were told these things were evil and satanic, and the devil's going to get a hold of you if you play those things. And what the negative impact of that was, when people are so confident and then so wrong, it actually makes you're just making this up as you go, is kind of what it felt like. And so there are a lot of people that was a piece of their a rejection of Christianity was you guys are so serious and certain that these things are of the devil. I've experienced none of that, and so what else are you wrong about? Confidently wrong about, And I think that's the flip side, is that if we're gonna go on any sort of crusade, let's make sure we're right, and let's just not do crusades. That's historically gone pretty bad for Christians and the Christians and the people they're crusading against. So let's just no more crusades. Yeah, that's my experience and some of my how my viewpoints have been shaped. I can talk more, but everybody else should.
Yeah. I'm a step a little bit further down the line away from the satanic panic. In the churches I grew up in, we just didn't talk about it. It was not a thing. I didn't know there was a controversy until I went to biblical college. We didn't even talk about it through the student ministry I was in, and I grew up through multiple churches. I was a part of the youth group. I was serving on Sundays. I was as involved in church as a young person as you could be, and they just never talked about it. And my parents had some rules growing up, so I dressed up for Halloween every year, but there were certain costumes that we steered away from. So I would never have been allowed to go as Freddy Krueger, but as a Star Wars character or a baseball player, absolutely. That was my parents' choice more than it was my church's kind of direction. And so it was almost an absence of we're just gonna like skip over the end of October and we're just gonna get straight to Christmas.
Is that why you love Christmas?
That's why.
So much
that's
time?
why. That's all this time. But we really didn't talk about it all that much, even to the point that like the students would have Halloween parties or costume parties, right. I guess. But we wouldn't even call them Halloween parties. We would call them costume nights. Or something like that. So we just didn't talk about it.
It was just coincidence that it was on the week of Halloween.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's kind of what the vibe was.
Yeah. That like skirt around the term Halloween with like the costume night and the fall festival.
Yes.
It's always been really funny to me. It's
trick or treat night or trunk or treat.
Yeah.
Like
trunk or treat.
Everyone knows it's Halloween.
I've never been to a trunk or treat. What is that?
So it's debatably worse than going to people's houses, because instead you go to the back of people's cars.
Oh, that's great.
And they have candy in their trunk. But we did do them at the church here for a while, so it is better than it sounds, because it's like we know the people with the cars. It's not just go up to strangers in their cars.
That's like anti-stranger danger, though.
Yeah,
that's like, don't take candy from people in cars, but except at our trunk or treat event.
Welcome to windowless white van candy night. like what?
Not to mention that most kidnappings happen by people that the children know. So it's that. We've come full circle on the stranger danger issue.
You know that a kidnapper invented trunk or treat. So, like, you just know that. That's not, like, coincidence. Sorry.
No?
Are you done, Ty?
I'm good.
Okay.
Pass.
I grew up in a very, like, Southern Baptist church and then an evangelical church. And Halloween was very, like, frowned upon, and there was a lot of, like, even, like, movies and things like that I couldn't watch, and it was weird because, like, you weren't allowed to watch Harry Potter, you weren't allowed to watch, you know, whatever, but you were allowed to watch Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, and Halloween is bad, but we always dressed up in costumes and went trick-or-treating, and I was like, I'm confused. Like, it was just a very confusing environment, right? Yeah. And it didn't make sense, and so as I got older, I just picked what I liked and what I didn't like. And I was like, I like Halloween. I've been a big fan of Halloween for a long time. I love scary movies. I love Halloween decor. I know people in my family and people in communities that still think that Halloween is like satanic and don't participate in any way, shape, or form. And that's fine. Like, that's their choice. It's their relationship with Jesus and what makes them feel comfortable. Like, I just know for me, like, I don't feel that fear. I don't feel that conflict, I guess, but I think it is important to be respectful of other people's opinions. So
absolutely.
I think there's a lot of good things that can happen on Halloween, like what I think we want to talk about today of, like, how do you make Halloween missional, or how do you make Halloween a space where you're loving people in your community? And I think that there's a lot of opportunity to do that, to be a good neighbor, to be a good person within the community that cares about people and is there making sure kids are safe and hands out good candy and not toothbrushes, like those kinds of things, you know, like please don't hand out toothbrushes on Halloween. I mean, you can, but just also give them candy. Like, anyway.
It's sad, but also debatably, like, the best thing for kids who are getting buckets full of candy.
Yeah, but if they need you to give them a toothbrush,
that's true.
They're not using it.
No, exactly.
If they don't already have one at home, they're not using the one you're giving them.
And please, no personal baked goods. That's kind of weird.
Or pennies.
That is sketchy.
Pennies are fine. I'll take pennies.
I've gotten pennies.
I love change. Me and my grandpa play a game where we see who can find the most change in the park.
I'm gonna walk around with my Venmo QR code.
Yeah,
here's trick or treat.
Here's a handful of bacteria. Enjoy. No, thank you.
Did any of you actually ever get razor blades in your candy? I feel like that was like
no, and neither has anyone ever.
No,
that's one of the most like obviously debunked myths.
I do remember checking all of our candy every single year.
No, my parents would. They would take it. This I now realize they were just taking the candy that they wanted.
The Mounds bars.
Which is honestly a smart parent move.
Mounds are great. Don't you
Mounds are
great.
great.
Mounds.
What?
You like
that's
pumpkin
a really
spice.
odd choice.
I've never heard someone choose Mounds.
Straight to Mounds.
Three Musketeers
versus nougat. I'm taking coconut a million times.
Three Musketeers. I don't know what the center is, but it's delicious.
It's nougat, and it can go directly in the garbage.
Three Musketeers is not nougat. It's fluffy. Isn't nougat like sticky?
It's all sticky.
It's Halloween. That's the theme. Sticky.
All right. I'll take everyone's Three Musketeers.
Sticky goo to go with your bacteria coins.
Who's giving out pennies? I've never received
You know
pennies.
what?
I don't know, but
I'll be living off those pennies.
Clearly, based on the voice, I'm doing some old-timey announcer.
From the 1900s.
Babe Ruth steps up to the plate. Make sure to pass out pennies at this Halloween. The kids will love it. Get your war bonds
and Cracker Jack.
I like to go back to like, where did this start, right? Now there's some debate as to whether it has pagan roots, and that stuff's always blurry, you know, like to know exactly where it comes from. But you know, they have this thing called All Hallows Eve or All Saints Day, and the idea is you know, you're focusing on the saints that have passed, right? And so there's this very human thing, I think, that's happening there, that you know, we are perplexed and fearful of death, and so we think about those who've gone before us into death, and you know, so it kind of develops out of this idea, and then those customs get brought over to the U.S. at a certain point. Into a very Protestant culture, which, you know, has rejected pretty much all things Catholic. So the idea of praying to saints is like almost idol worship. It's really bad. And this whole idea that like, we don't know what the afterlife is, but we know it's not what those Irish people think. It's a culture clash between Protestants and Catholics, which happens a lot, right? And so it's interesting to like think about, okay, from a different perspective, I think if we can humbly say like, yeah, we don't know exactly what happens after we die. We know like what the end of the story is with resurrection, but we don't know exactly what happens after we die. And the kind of American Protestant way is just like, don't think about it, don't talk about it, I don't want to, you know what I mean? Whereas other cultures are a little more like, hey, I don't know, you know, and there's customs and traditions that come along with trying to figure that out, or at least trying to like cope with it. And I think that's one of the interesting parts about Halloween too, is why we like horror movies. Like, why do we like jump scares? It's all a coping mechanism for death. It's all it is. It's like we're trying to take the sting out of it by like, you know, being entertained by it or by like whatever. And so I think that's something that like we wrestle with. Anyway, all of that backstory stuff to say, like, my point of view is you can't accidentally worship the devil. You know what I mean? Like, dressing up as Mario and asking people for candy is not going to, like, summon the demons. And I don't say that to laugh at anybody who wants to be really cautious. Again, I appreciate that point of view. But I also think that, like, you know, to do evil, to do anything, you know, demonic or whatever, is a purposeful giving of oneself over to that, as opposed to if you go outside of your house on Halloween, you're going to somehow get like swept up into something evil. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of where I land on it, just given the history of Halloween and, you know, my experience with it. I'm babbling, so somebody else can chime in with something if you want.
I really appreciate all of the backstory to it.
Sure.
I think that really helps this conversation in kind of like an intellectual way, to say like, where did this whole conversation come from?
Yeah.
Something that I really appreciate about what FCC has done in the past is we've done the Fall Family Festival sort of thing. We've done the trunk or treat, and it's all been with the intention of reaching out to the community to provide a safe space for kids to come and enjoy some fall festivities, even if we didn't call it like our big Halloween block party or something like that. The intention was, we want you to feel like your kids are safe and not going around to strangers' houses. Yeah. And so that was a strategy that we used for a long time to reach out to the community. And Becky, you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but we're kind of now shifting and taking it even a step further than that. Yeah. What are some ways, just from your guys' experiences of celebrating Halloween, ways that you think maybe we can take that extra step?
Yeah, I think some of the stuff we've talked about is, if you are comfortable and you feel comfortable to participate in Halloween, like, participate well. Like, if you're giving out candy, give out good candy. Like, don't be the house that gets egged later in the night because you gave out pennies from the 1920s.
Toothbrushes.
Unless you give them to Becca, then I guess it's okay.
Pennies, not toothbrushes.
Pennies, not toothbrushes. But, like, maybe even some of the stuff of, like, how do you position yourself? Because Halloween is the one day of the year that everyone comes knocking on everyone else's door, and that's an opportunity. And so do you wait inside on your like in your living room waiting for someone to knock, or maybe do you wait out on the front porch, or maybe even further out onto the driveway, and you have lawn chairs and you've got like a little snack bar for the parents, or hot cocoa or whatever, right? Something that my first year here, I was in a townhouse and no one came to trick or treat through the complex. And so I had these 2 giant bags of Reese's peanut butter cups that I was like, I should not eat all of these on my own. But I knew
Sounds like a challenge to me.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, no.
It did to me as well, and that's why I had to get them out. But there were 2 families who lived around me in the complex who I knew had kids. And so the day after Halloween, I just went knocking on their door and I said, hey, no one came trick-or-treating last night. I know you've got kids. Do you want these? And they took them. And so, like, even, like, the missional idea of saying everyone knows Halloween exists. And so if you've got, like, they were all sealed bags. Like, it was all the individually wrapped ones. So it was, like, a safety thing there as well. But just saying, you know what? I'm going to take the opportunity because everyone knows Halloween is a thing. And there's almost like a social grace period there of like, oh, you're knocking on my door to give my kids candy.
Yeah.
Okay. Or oh, you're knocking on my door to get candy because of this event that's okay. Like, whereas if I knocked in the middle of February and said, hey, do you want candy? That's going to be a little creepy. Like, so you take the opportunity, like participate well.
Whether you're sitting out in your driveway, handing out, snacks to the parents as well and having conversation, or, whatever it may be, or handing out the good candy, like just always doing everything with intention for your neighborhood and for your community. Like, what is it that your neighborhood needs, and be that to them.
Yeah. Thank you guys all so much for sitting down. If you want to hear more from us about Halloween, I guess I'll go ahead and link to a podcast that Ty and I recorded recently, where we talk about D&D and pop culture and kind of similar conversation along those lines. It's usually where I link like a sermon, but this is kind of like a fun off-topic sort of thing. Yeah. So if you want to experience more of what we're offering here at FCC, we'll have some more content for you right here.